everyone. Welcome to another Facebook Live here at Eight Letters Bookstore and Publishing. I'm Cindy, your host for today, and we have a romance combined with nostalgia themed book launch today. So, like last week, we're going to have a back to back launch. So, if you're a hopeless romantic, if you love the sea, if you're into um, prince and princesses, I think this book launch is for you. Okay, so for today we're going to launch Dreaming of the Sea by Raissa Falgui and another book by it's entitled I Saved Romeo by Zmain. So I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. We'll have them both today on our launch. So, without further ado, let me first introduce our first author for today. So, Raissa Falgi writes both fiction and nonfiction. The sea has figured in many of her stories, beginning with her first story to win the Palanca Awards. Yes, we have a Palanca winner today. Virtual Center. Okay, so that's the title of the story. Now in a collection published by Penguin Random House, Southeast Asia. Well, it is especially significant in her myth-based story in the anthology Alternative Alamat and in her YA contribution to Friend Zones. She writes in various genres, but her favorites are speculative fiction and romance. So without further ado, let me call on Raissa Falgi. Hi, Raissa. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Wow. So we
Good
have
to
a
be here.
Palanca. We have a Palanca Award winner for the first time here at Eight Letters.
Oh,
Yay!
well, thank you.
Ayun. It's a big thing for us. It's a big thing for we're a small we're an indie publisher here in the Philippines, and having you, it's really truly an honor. Especially when we read this collection of yes, here you go, Dreaming of the Sea. I would say marami, sobrang siksik, and no wonder you're a Palanca Award winner.
Oh,
Okay.
well, thanks.
Ayun, Miss Raisa or Raisa. We so this is the first time no na we're launching your book here at Eight Letters. Could you tell us more about this collection, Dreaming of the Sea?
Well, as the title suggests, and the beautiful cover, it's a book of sea-themed stories. Now, some of them are speculative fiction, actually. I guess about half or more. I did not do the math because I'm a writer, not so into math. But there is so I think the others are mostly romance. So some of them are based on myths. There's one ghost story, and the others are romance. Okay, so there's a paranormal romance kind of thing too. And all of them have something to do with the sea. So they're set in the sea, or the sea is an important metaphor or a link in the lives of the characters.
Mhm. Oh, okay. So you know what, Raisa, actually, whenever we or whenever I dream about the sea, because literally, no, na napapanaginipan yung sea, it kind of gives me a creepy feeling when I wake up because either I would be floating in the water or minsan nalulunod or something like that, diba? Parang yung metaphor using the sea, it's very very powerful, especially okay, moving from that perspective into um we're surrounded, as a country. Napapaligiran tayo ng tubig, 7,000 islands, it's surrounded by water and all that. So, para ipasok yung mythological creatures doon, it's very pasok, very on point, I would say.
Yeah.
So, Raisa, what would be your favorite story in this collection?
Yeah. I could actually think about that. It's kind of hard for me to decide. Well, I think the one that the ones that I have strongest feelings about. Well, there's light in the water. Actually,
Mhm.
that one
Mhm.
was something that I wrote when I was staying home with my kids. I was bored, and it had been such a long time since we'd gone anywhere,
Mhm.
and I was cleaning up. I was just cleaning, and then I found an old newspaper with a story about, yeah, that started just the way the story did, where people, fishermen,
Mhm.
claimed that there was some kind of paranormal phenomenon in the sea. Okay,
Mhm.
so I was very intrigued. I wrote that story, and then when I started my MA, I had it workshopped, and well, and this is one of the few stories, because I'm not really a poet, where I wrote,
Mhm.
well, I wrote some few lines, and then my classmates, when I was workshopped, said that it was poetry.
Mhm.
Okay, some of them said the poetry doesn't fit because the character in whose point of view it was did not seem like a poetic guy.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? It's poetry? I think it's poetry. So I think I was able to do all sorts of things with that story that I was not even planning or expecting. I didn't have a plan when I started. It's just taking off on this mysterious idea that I read about. But
Mhm.
I was happy with how it turned out, and it was published in the Can Journal a long time ago.
Oh yeah, yun nga.
The
Yeah, I
only
think.
fiction story published in that issue, in fact.
Mhm. Mhm. So, Raisa, how long did it take you to complete this collection? Because you mentioned you included
Mm,
that part of that story that you from Likhaan.
yeah. Well, would you believe the one of the stories here, the one about the mermaid, I wrote when
Mhm.
I was in a college freshman. I won't tell you how
Mhm.
long ago, but okay, so more than 20 years ago. And it was actually started as a class requirement,
Mhm.
okay, taking off on a story by Maria Elena Paterno. So we
Mhm.
were supposed to write a version, our own version. Well, I was taken by the attitude of her mermaid because, okay, I wish I could remember the title, but this is one where the she had such an angry tone, the mermaid,
Mhm.
and which is unusual because in the stories, at least in
Mhm.
Disney films and that kind of thing, mermaids are usually sweet and very pleasant and musical, and this one
Mhm.
was an angry mermaid. So I took off on that, but I'm focused. Well, I did put in some environmental issues, and
Mhm.
actually it turned out to be more of a sad story. And okay, then well, it was an early story, so and it was also an indicator of, unfortunately, parang sakit ko. Like I have a great idea, I come up with a story, and it's usually speculative fantasy, and then I'm just enjoying speculating. Then like, how am I gonna end this?
Oh
So I
my
was
God.
not able to come up with a real ending until the UP Writers Workshop, where they said that one guy said that you know I just abruptly put in some kind of platitude at the end, so it's like nothing really happened, and it wasn't even especially unique. So
Mhm.
okay, so I guess that confirmed. Okay, I have to think of a strong ending. So, and then I realized, okay, it's supposed to be a strong mermaid, an angry mermaid. So
Mhm.
I went back to that and finally was able to come up with an ending that, well, kind of surprised me, but I think was fitting. Also because I was writing about an environmental text at that time, so from one of my sideline jobs, and
Mhm.
yeah, so it's about climate change and the effects on the earth and the ocean especially. So yeah, I was getting a little angry myself, so I think I got more into the character, was able to express it. through her. So that's the oldest story, and the others I've written mostly in the recent years, like when I was doing my uh, MA in UP. I wrote the creation myth. That's another class requirement. See, I'm
Mhm.
a good student. So this was Neil Garcia's class requirement in the myth class to come up with our own creation myth. Okay, so that's what I thought of, and I think it's very fitting to the Philippines that life came from the sea.
Mhm.
Okay, there's an element of life that came from the sea instead of in a garden in the middle of the nowhere.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. Ayun. So, oh, that's so much to take in. First, the Angry Mermaid, because every time na pinapalabas siya sa media, the mermaids always, that's the sweet kind. And I remember this TV series called Marina, long time ago. And kung sino man yung angry creature, sea creature, it will be the dugong. And in your story, it's the other way around. So, um, okay, so it's an angry mermaid, and I would I would be interested to know how that turned out because sabi mo nga like it took some time for you to really get to the ending and also because these are short stories and the thing about short stories kailangan mailabas or ma-execute siya na uh in a few like in a few words in a very limited number of words no kailangan execute siya ng maayos. Okay, so I'm going to show a photo here. I think this one you can relate to and perhaps you can tell us about this. Okay, I'm not sure if it's showing na. Ayan. So Yun. I think this is the photo that you showed us. And do you want to explain to our audience what is this about?
Yeah, so this was a photo that I found. Well, you see, at that time, so this was some years ago. My daughter was into ballet, and she also loves the color blue. So I was trying to come up with some kind of scrapbook page with a blue ballerina image, and then I found this, and it's like, oh well, I found it so beautiful, and then I thought, and then a story just came to me. It also took off on article I had read recently. And see, this is why I'm always on social media because I actually get a lot of my ideas from articles that I read and not your generic news articles. I mean, not headlines for the day, but these little interesting bits, human interest stories. And this was about kids who, well, a family with two kids who are living on the beach in Boracay. Like they dug a sand cave or something because they were evicted from their home and they were living there. It's like, oh, I was so affected by the story. Okay, well, of course, I've been to Boracay. It's beautiful, but can you imagine how hot it is living on the beach all the time? And somehow those two things came together. Okay. Oh, and this time I didn't have that much trouble ending the story. So it's really a matter of practice, isn't it?
Mm.
And also, I think the character just came to me. It's like she was a real person telling the story, and it all really happened. Okay, so I thought of a kid living in the sea who becomes a dancer, yes, living on the beach who becomes a dancer. Okay, so that's why the title of the story came out was "Dancing Across the Water."
Mm-hmm. Right. Ayun. We were thinking, no, this was supposed to be the peg for the book cover, but then like our artist came up with I think this with this because we wanted to be more creative. I hope you
Yeah.
like the book
Oh
cover,
yeah,
but
yeah. And
yeah.
I think the color is attractive because although I love blue, I
Mm.
mean not everyone would get the. It's not as eye catching as the primary color scheme that you chose.
Mm. Yes, thank you, Raisa. So, we're going to read, or I hope you have a copy, with you
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
great.
great, great, Ayon. So perhaps we can ask you later on to read, you know, your favorite part of the story, or kahit ano, kahit
Mm,
few paragraphs of your favorite story. Yun, so that our audience can have a glimpse of what Dreaming of the Sea is all about. So I'm also going to show where they can order it. They can order it on our website. So Dreaming of the Sea, okay, here you go. It's only 420 pesos. Yeah, 420 pesos. I want to make sure it's showing. Ayan. 420 pesos. Yeah. Dreaming of the Sea. It's a collection of short stories of different genres. So here we for the blurb we inserted a little bit of your introduction because I would say this perfectly captures um, kung ano yung mababasa nila sa loob. So let me just read a few sentences. So as mentioned here, as an adult, sadly, I have hardly ever been to the sea. And it seems because of my early acquaintance with it, it remains in my consciousness. In a decade when my children were young and I was never able to set foot on the beach and hardly ever came close to Manila Bay, I wrote four of the stories in this collection: The Creation of the First Children, The Silence After the Storm. Ayan, yan na yung mga list of stories here. Okay, The Last of the Mermaids, Dreaming of the Sea, and Light in the Water. And What the Wind Bought was also begun in this period, though I was only able to finish it recently. So I also wove the sea in other stories written around this time. Yan, there you go. So, as you can see, medyo siksik na pati yung blurb natin. So, Raisa, you've mentioned here, you have an early acquaintance with the sea. Have you lived
mm.
nearby? Ganun ba?
Well, no, I haven't. We went to the beach a lot when I was a kid. Actually, one of my first memories is of seeing the sea. So my great grandfather actually had this plantation in Zamboanga on a slope,
Mhm.
and there was an amazing view of the sea from there. And it's one of the things that I remembered
Mhm.
uh, when I think of my earliest memories. So just being stunned about the vastness of the ocean from that hillside, and
Have you been to a sea lately?
not since before the pandemic, unfortunately. But I'm glad I was able to go about 3 years ago,
Mhm. Mhm.
just before everything shut down.
Mhm. Just wondering, how did you come up with the title while during the pandemic? Because you're literally dreaming of the sea.
Well, no, but actually, it captures that sense of confinement. Again, this is a story. The story that gave the book its title, okay, which of course in the collection was something I wrote again when I was staying
Mhm.
home with my young kids,
Mhm.
and I guess feeling ennui, boredom, not wishing I could or be somewhere else, be
Mhm.
something else. So sort of feeling trapped, but of course I love them. I wanted to be with them. So
Mhm.
that kind of ambivalence came out in the story of trying to figure out how can you still okay pursue your dreams while being there for important people in your life. Okay,
Mhm.
so and it also mixed in some historical stuff.
Mhm.
That's another genre I write in. Hmm.
So I'm also curious before we get to the reading. I'm curious. You mentioned or we mentioned earlier that actually you write in different genres.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, probably
oh,
I read in different.
yeah. So like as a writer, did it occur to you now? Okay, I should stick to one genre, or do you really want to have that
Mm,
freedom? Now, I want to write. as much genre as I can, ganyan.
Well, one of my early favorites was Ray Bradbury, and if you know, if you're familiar with him, he actually writes in different genres, although he's best known for sci-fi and fantasy. And yeah, I guess I wanted to be that kind of writer. At the same time, okay,
Mm-hmm.
thinking more of building a career of writer, I thought, okay, maybe I should stick to one genre. Except, I can't just force myself to write what I'm expected to write. Actually, the idea for Dear Dragon was
Mm-hmm.
when, paranormal romance was a thing. And I thought, okay, I like paranormal stuff. I like romance. I should write paranormal romance because it's popular. And so I came up with the idea of a girl who can turn into a dragon. Okay. But again, I didn't have a plot to go with it. So it took years. Okay. Actually, when you had that Mythologia contest, okay, that was when I finally forced myself to think of a plot to go
Mm-hmm.
with it. Okay. Well, it helped that I had by then read about the Bakunawa and
Mm-hmm.
done a lot of research about the Bakunawa because, of the other story here, What the Wind Brought. So I had done that all that research on the Bakunawa, and so I was
Mm-hmm.
able to incorporate it in this story. Okay, because conveniently it's a shape shifting dragon. Okay, so that fit in nicely with my idea of a girl who can turn into a dragon. Mm, I was able, and I was able to finally come up with a story.
Oh, the struggle's real. It's well, me as a writer as well, parang it's also difficult to stick with one
Mm.
genre. And I would say, kaya siguro ako naging publisher because it's it's easier than writing. I would say that. You know,
Oh,
uh, there's a question here. Benz by Benz. Um, my story ba sa book na about coming of age na nasa magandang dagat ang Nilyu na parang blue lagoon ang
mm. Well, not exactly Blue Lagoon.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have a couple of coming of age. Yung isa ay What the Wind Brought. So this is set in early Filipino, pre-Hispanic times.
Mhm.
So there's a young girl who is, struggling against the expectations of society at that time and
Mhm.
her place in society. So, so that's coming of age. Of course, still very young, so it doesn't come out in the Blue Lagoon way. Well, I have another one that's a more adult type romance. Okay,
Mhm.
and that's the last story, Sun and Moon. Okay, so there's a girl who lives on an island, but it's not an uninhabited island. Okay, and she wears clothes. I mean, she wears normal contemporary clothes, and it's actually set in contemporary times.
Mhm.
But there, she does meet a guy there and on the island, and they do have maybe a Blue Lagoon moment. Okay,
Mhm.
in the outdoors, near the sea, within the view of the sea. So, thanks for that very interesting question.
Yes, we've got a lot of our friends, commenting here. Helen says, "Congratulations, imaginative and creative." And there's Leslie. She said she's a big fan of yours.
Oh, thanks.
And yeah, so there you go, Benz. Benz. Zoe said amazing,
Oh,
and Benz
beautiful.
again. He says, "Yan ang maganda if you write your concept in a book. You all have the creative freedom to do so, and
Yeah.
mass liberating. Yes, yes, 100% for sure." So, Raisa, are we ready? To read a few parts of the book or at least a few paragraphs. So I just want to show again. Here's the book cover. It's this thick. So makapal-kapal din siya. Here you go. Ayan. So this is Dreaming of the Sea. Ayan. So Raisa, whenever you're ready, just let us
Oh,
know.
sure. Mm, Okay, well, I thought the a part that captures the all the different elements of the book, so the mythical and the romantic, would be in the last story, Sun and Moon. So this one was inspired by reading an article about a coming eclipse. And so aside from telling about the eclipse and where it could be seen, it talked about different uh, myths and legends about eclipses from different cultures. And I was interested in seeing how, okay, the similarities of these, and where they diverted. Okay, so although this story is romance set in contemporary times, it takes off on these myths. So, okay, so there's a meeting between a guy and a girl. Okay, so the girl lives on the island, and the guy is a foreigner, or or rather, he's half Filipino, grew up abroad. Okay, and here he says, okay, so when just before they're going to watch the eclipse, says, in Alaska, where I come from, an old native story says the sun and moon are sister and brother who have quarreled and reconcile whenever there is an eclipse. What's the story here? Some say a great dragon swallows the sun on the command of the moon goddess, as a punishment, said with a smile. Maybe, I don't know. At least he gets spit out again. Everyone deserves another chance, so they say. Unfortunately, the cycle repeats itself. When you think about it, it has to. The sun will always be a danger to his children, so he can never be close to them. So, why isn't he a danger to the moon, though? Perhaps because they are made of the same matter, but not the children? I guess they were too, but they burned, so I sighed. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense in just in a different way. Might be saying something about the difference between fathers and mothers and their ability to take care of their children. I would agree with that, I said. He gave me a long look. Okay, so here's the romantic part. I turned quickly away. We should find a place where we can watch, I said. Talin, he said, laying a hand on my shoulder. I stiffened, not just because my shoulder still ached from when my arm was wrenched last night, but because this kind of touch, this gentleness of tone was something I was no longer used to. It had been so long since I heard anyone speak to me with kindness and sympathy. And never before had I heard such tenderness from men. A tender voice that asked nothing from me. Or did it? Because as I walked on towards the shore, a strong gust of wind whipped my hair across my face. I did not bother to push it out of my eyes. I was glad, in fact, that it was covering my face. But he reached out and combed my hair away from my face with his fingers. He was looking down at me. I could hear my heart pounding. Many men had made my heart pound when they stared at me intensely, but this was different. It was not him I was afraid of, or what I sensed he was about to do. It was because he seemed to see right through me, feel his eyes burning into mine, right into me. I wanted to turn away, but couldn't. I just stood there, damp from the spray, and let him kiss me. Mm, okay, so
Ako yung bandang huli, ah.
like I said, it's a romance, and I'm sorry about it. It took so long for the kiss to happen, but sometimes it's more satisfying that way.
Oh, for
We
sure.
really do it.
For sure, for sure. There you go. So yeah, so again, once again, if you guys want to get a copy of Dreaming of the Sea, it's only 420. You know where to get it. It's available on our Shopee, Lazada, and also on our website, most especially on our website. So um, just check out www.8lettersbooks.com/shop. So yeah. So Raisa, could we can we still read another paragraphs
Sure.
kasi baka may mga nabitin pa. Last na to, I promise.
Oh, no problem. And it's just let's okay. Hmm. Let's see here. The from Light in the Water. By the way, I would like to apologize to men that I don't seem to have that many male protagonists, but this is one story that does. Okay, the Light in the Water, and okay, he's a real hero here. It's a nice long story. Okay, so here's just a snippet. Okay. So the fishermen called to each other, passing the news from man to man. Clusters of twinkling lights had been spotted in water. Lilies, they knew from their experience that the lights sense signified the presence of this delicacy, which meant a lucrative haul for them. They put out to sea in their boats, readying their nets to welcome the catch. But net after net came up with not one of the minuscule shining fish. And yet, around them the lights still sparkled in the water. Frustration gave way to mystification, then to fear. As a man, they turned to look at the vast promontory that rose from the water half a mile from the shore. Smooth and artificial, it had been there for a year. Long enough for it to become a natural part of their landscape, but not long enough for them to have forgotten what it was and the horror that surrounded its presence. Hastily, they retreated from the lights in the water, both spurting in different directions as they spoke to each other tremulously of ghosts. The sparkle of the waves called to Kenneth Bautista as soon as he glimpsed the shore through his windshield. But then he loved the water in all its moods. He loved it on calm, clear days when a wealth of myriad colored treasures was instantly visible as he plunged the coral reefs below. He loved it too at night when creatures shimmered mysteriously in the depths, illuminated only by the dive light in his palm. He had always held a fascination for the water, as he did with nothing and no one else, except perhaps his wife. In many ways, his love for her mirrored his relationship with the water. Her name was Mona, and though by now he had known her for over 2 years, there would always be some things about her that would remain a mystery. Though her tentative trust in him had soon developed into easy warmth, she always held back on sharing certain aspects of herself, her memories and feelings. And he was satisfied with this. Was it not his love of mystery that kept him exploring the depths of the water? There would always be more about her to discover, such as why storm winds and rains made her shudder like a child, or why her constant refusal to learn to scuba dive with him changed to determination to learn when their first trip to her childhood province approached. So he had never been there, but he had read about the coast and knew of its still pristine, little known diving spots. Perhaps thus a desire to gain more intimate knowledge of her province that drove her to master her fear of the depths, that she had made little attempt to conquer in the early months of their marriage. But he had always kept a careful respect for her boundaries in trying to convince, and he surmised now that his giving her freedom to make her own choice was what made her plunge wholeheartedly into his interest now. She had not returned to the province for 10 years, not since the mysterious death of her father. Mysterious to Kenneth anyway, because she had never told him precisely how he died. And an accident, she would always say briefly, and perceiving the subject was unwelcome, though he knew not why, he let it go, as was always his way, trusting that she would give him the details in her own time. But so far, she never had. So, and do you want me to go on?
No, no, it's okay. It's all right. I think we'll have to let them get the book. Purchase the book, you guys, para malaman nyo kung paano nag-end yung kwento. Okay, so ayun. Thank you so much, Raisa, again for gracing our
Thank
Facebook
you
Live
also.
today and for telling us all about your beautiful book, Dreaming of the Sea. You know,
Yeah.
the covers, not the, I know you shouldn't judge the book by its cover, but the thing about it,
Exaggerate.
the thing
But
about
the
it,
front.
yeah. Oo. So actually pati yung
Hmm.
content niya, it's very siguro I would say you have to read the book, for you to find out what's in it. You have to deep dive into the ocean of these stories.
Very
Ayun.
appropriate. Thank you.
Very appropriate. Ayun. So thank you, Raisa. And I'm very much looking forward to your next books. And yeah, so you guys, you should get a copy of the book. It's only 420 pesos. You know where to get it. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Raisa. And
Yes,
we're
thank you, Cindy.
yun. So we're going to prepare now for our next book that we're going to launch. But Raisa, do you wanna say anything to our audience? Where can we find you?
Okay. Well, you can find me on Facebook, Raissa Rivera Falgui, and on Goodreads, mm, Raissa Claire Falgui. And, well, if mostly I'm around Marikina, QC, so you might run into me. Okay. So
Okay.
I'd be
Okay.
happy if ever I meet you and you happen to have a copy of my book to sign it. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Raisa. Okay, so here you go again. Just want to show again the book cover. The book cover. Okay, so get a copy. It's only 420. Okay, so Shopee, Lazada, and on our website. Thank you, Raisa. And we'll see you next time here on our Facebook Live.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
All right. So now for our next book. So, because we're having a back-to-back launch here today with our team. With our team, let me show you that romance and nostalgia. Yes, that's the theme of our book launch today. So we're trying to do that every week here at Eight Letters. So for our next book, it's going to be a romance story. Okay, and let me just introduce the author to you guys. So I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Zmain. So we'll have Zmain in a bit, but she's a high school girl, also called as Moonlight by her readers. Moonlight with a double T. Okay, she's addicted to fiction books, Japanese animations, webtoons, K drama, and Japanese manga. Moonlight, or Zmain, started writing Filipino short stories when she was just 12 years old, and she was 14 when she began writing teen fiction and fantasy novels. I Saved Romeo is her first finished novel, and you can also read her other stories on Wattpad. You can get in touch with her, yeah, so on Wattpad and on her Facebook, Moonlight. Okay, so hi. Hi, Zmain, tama ba?
Hello po, tama po. Hello po.
Ayun. So we actually printed your book, um, but we shipped that last copy already. But I remember while we were holding that, I was like, okay, this is 400-page thick. It's a very thick book. Okay, I want to show you guys that. Hold on. This is I Save Romeo. So here's the book cover. So this is what it looks like. Ayun. There. So yeah, so this is, yeah, I Saved Romeo. So it's a thick book there. So Smain, tama ba? Smain.
Opo, tama po.
Okay. So can you tell us about I Save Romeo? Because I don't think Romeo and Juliet is that long, but you managed to have this 400-page book, no? Can you tell us more about this book?
Ang I Save Romeo po, tungkol po siya sa babae na ang pangalan ay Juliet and si Romeo yung lalaki. And meron nung ano po, past life nila, nagkaroon po sila ng trahedya. Parang tragic po yung first life nila and nung ano naman po, binigyan po sila ng pagkakataon na mabuhay ulit. And si Juliet po, naaalala niya yung nakaraan niyang buhay, pero si Romeo po hindi. Nakilala niya po ulit si Romeo sa pangalawa nilang buhay. Pero po ano, masungit si Romeo sa kanya kaya po si Juliet para po hindi na maulit yung nangyari sa past life nila, ginagawa niya yung lahat para ibigin siya ni Romeo para hindi na po maulit yung trahedyang nangyari sa kanila noong una nilang buhay.
Mhm. Okay, so is it based on like the original Romeo and Juliet, no? Oo. Okay, so it's based on the original Romeo and Juliet, and then ang ginawa mo dito, they had this second life, and then ang nangyari, naaalala ni Juliet si Romeo, but Romeo can't remember Juliet. Ganon?
Yes po.
Ayun. Okay. Actually, nandito yung verb and I think I should show it to our audience right now. So, ito, sabi ko, Juliet has memories of her past life. She was a princess and was destined to marry the crown prince from a neighboring empire. She's obsessed with him, kaya naman tuluyang gumuho ang mundo niya nang malaman niyang may iba itong minamahal. She tried to assassinate the girl he loved, but she failed and he hated her because of that. She was about to give up, but she heard a goddess voice telling her that she needed to save Romeo from his lover who was planning to kill him, and she did. But she died saving him. Okay, so teka. Bago tayo mapunta sa part na yan, bago tayo mapunta sa part na yan, no? Um, anong nangyari? So, is si Juliet ba yung kontrabida dito?
Hindi po, siya po yung bida. Pero po
Mhm.
obsessed siya kay Romeo, pero si Romeo po dahil sa nangyari, para pong nagkaroon ng ibang mahal si Romeo, and then po si Juliet parang nung una po nagalit siya, hindi niya kinaya kaya po sinubukan niyang ano paghiwalayin si Romeo tapos yung girl na bagong mahal ni Romeo. Pero po bigla niyang nalaman na yung girl pala na bagong lover ni Romeo is masama and she's planning to kill Romeo. Kaya po nung nalaman po yun ni Juliet, linigtas niya po si Romeo, pero po namatay siya nung linigtas niya si Romeo.
Mhm. Mabubuhay ba siya ulit?
Para po reincarnation.
Oo, parang reincarnation. Okay. So, sabi dito, may nag-comment dito. Ben said, "Oh, this is a reincarnation story. Do you use any song lyrics para mas mabigyan ng emosyon ng eksena sa story?" The story reminds me of Gumising Ka Maruha. So, ano tong Gumising Ka Maruha? So, is this a real, is it a book, Benz? I am not so sure. Pero, can you answer that question, Zmain? So, is it a reincarnation story? Parang oo naman. So, did you use any song lyrics ba? Para mas mabigyan ng
Wala
emosyon?
po.
Wala.
Wala
Okay.
naman.
Mhm. Ayun, that's what I thought. So, so how is the how is the character of Juliet here sa story mo?
Si Juliet po, ano po siya, selfless po siya kapag dating sa mga mahal niya sa buhay. Ano po siya, very, very active, masayahin. Tas kaya niya pong isakripisyo lahat para po sa mga mahal niya sa buhay.
Okay, so ano yun, nung na-reincarnate ba siya, mahal niya na agad si Romeo? Hinanap niya na ba agad si Romeo?
Hindi niya po ine-expect na makikita niya ulit si Romeo sa buhay na yun. Pero po nung nakita niya, hindi niya na pinakawalan si Romeo. Kasi po, gusto niyang mahalin siya ni Romeo sa panahon na yun, sa pangalawa nilang buhay.
Mhm. Okay, so tama ba si Juliet when she woke up or when meron siyang past memories, naaalala niya
Yes
yun?
po.
Okay. Okay. So, Smain, let's try to move from the story to you as a writer. Kasi sabi dito, you were just 12 when you started writing short stories. And kailan mo lang to nakompleto itong story na to?
Yung I Save Romeo po, sinulat ko po siya nung 14 years old po ako. Tapos po, natapos ko po siya nung 15 years old ako. Ngayon po 16 na.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So, what was your inspiration? Paano ka nakapagsulat ng 400-page na book? So, sa Wattpad, no?
Noong una po hindi ko naman po talaga plinano na madaming chapters yung isusulat ko. Ang plano ko po talaga is 10 to 15 chapters lang kasi unang story ko pa lang naman po. Kaya po kaya po plinano ko maikli lang sana. Pero po habang nagsusulat ako, habang tumatagal, dumadami din yung chapters ng hindi ko namamalayan. Parang sinusulat ko lang po yung kung ano yung nasa imaginations ko hanggang po sa matapos.
Mm. Wow, galing, no? Yun nga, kasi like, well, some other writers, medyo nahirapan silang mag-plot ng story. Ikaw, like, you just go with the flow. Kung ano yung
Yes po.
sumunod na naisip mo, yun na yung ginagawa mo. Ay, yun na yung sinusulat mo. Okay, yun. So, sabi dito ni Benz, sabi niya, what were your story inspiration for this book? Or true to life inspiration ba? Grabe ka, Benz, yun na reincarnate dito. So, yeah, what was your inspiration? Sorry, bumalik tayo sa tanong na yun.
Dati po kasi mahilig po ako sa mga tragic stories. Mas gusto ko po yung mga mga stories na tragic kaysa po sa mga stories na happy-happy lang. Kaya po siguro yung una kong story, gusto ko din po medyo sad. Kaya po, then sakto din po nun yung nag-iisip ako ng bagong nobela. Nabasa ko po yung Romeo and Juliet ni William Shakespeare po. Talaga pong nagustuhan ko. Kaya po, pinangalan ko rin sa characters ko, Romeo and Juliet.
Mhm. Wow, and ikaw ba, meron ka bang bagong sinusulat ngayon? Kasi I'm sure medyo mahirap makaget over, no, after writing a 400-page book.
Sa ngayon po, hindi pa po ako nagsusulat, pero may plano naman po ako sa kapag po sa ngayon po focus po muna ako sa school.
Ayun, yun naman talaga dapat. Okay. Ikaw ba, like, in the future, are you keen on continuing this career as a writer, or you're going to pursue another career?
Siguro po magsusulat pa rin po ako.
Mhm.
Magsusulat pa rin po ako ng mga novels, pero po 'di po ako sure kung kapag college na ako kung magsusulat pa rin ba ako. Kasi po gusto ko po maging flight attendant.
Oh, wow. Okay, yan, gusto ko yan. Okay, makaka-relate tayo dyan because we love traveling. Okay, so I hope you really, pursue what you want in life. You can be whatever you want. You can be a flight attendant as well as a writer on the side. Ako rin yun dati. Pero hindi ako naging flight attendant. Travel agent lang. Okay. Um, so, okay, so Zmain, could you tell me, may naging struggles ka ba sa pagsusulat ng librong to? Or tuloy-tuloy lang, I'm studying and then nagsusulat ako on the side. I'm okay with that.
No, dati po, hindi po kasi ako confident sa mga sinusulat ko. Parang iniisip ko, wala naman nagbabasa nito eh. Wag na lang kaya ako tumuloy. Pero po yung mga friends ko, yung family ko po, Sobrang supportive po nila kaya po dahil po sa kanila nagpatuloy po ako sa pagsusulat.
Ayun. Oh, so one of these struggles was the confidence, no? Parang minsan like bakit ko ba 'to sinusulat? Hindi naman parang hindi naman 'to karapat-dapat na basahin or something. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure maraming makaka-relate sa'yo, Zmaine. And even when you grow older, no, and even when you start producing more books, writing more books, the feeling won't go away. So yeah, the feeling won't go away. Parang, ano man tawag dito? May tawag sa term na to eh. But basahin muna natin itong comment ni Amar Celine. So happy and proud of you, imaginative and pretty author. Ayan. So buti na lang may mga supportive friends tayo dito.
Friends
Sabi,
ko po.
oo, ayan. Sabi ni Romel, I'm impressed. Ayan. Thank you, Romel. Okay, so Zmin, perhaps you can read a few parts of the book para naman malaman ng audience natin, no? Bakit ba ito pinili ng 8 letters? Bakit this is your first novel, but then again, di ba, binibenta na natin siya. Bakit karapat dapat ang librong to, no? 530 pesos, 400-page book.
Wait lang.
Bakit? Okay. Yes, no problem. So, habang naghahanap si Zmin, Mika says, amazing. Thank you, Mika. Ako na magti-thank you para sa'yo. Ayan. So, yun. Nung nabasa ko nga yung prologue na to, I would say, parang, wow, so catchy. Hindi mo to mabibitawan basta-basta. Okay. Ayan. Sige, whenever you're ready. Anong page ba?
Yung line po sa chapter 1, yung line po na dito, yung umpisa po. My name is Juliet and he is Romeo, but our story is unlike William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. The feelings between me and him aren't mutual. In this story, only Juliet is the one who loves Romeo and she's willing to sacrifice her life for him. She's willing to suffer any pain just to love him. Pathetic, isn't it? Being with the man I love is the only thing I want. I am selfish but selfless when it comes to him. Maraming nagsasabi na isa akong tanga dahil lahat ng ginagawa ko tama man o mali para lang mapansin ako ng taong gusto ko. Yes, I won't deny that because I know that it's a fact. I remembered my past life when I was 8. Sobra ang gulat at sakit na naramdaman ko noong naalala ko ang nakaraan kong buhay. Other people don't remember their past lives. At hindi ko alam kung bakit ko naalala ang akin. Hindi ko rin alam kung ginusto ko na maalala yun. Maaaring oo at maaari namang hindi. I am happy because at least I remember the important people I met in my previous life. Pero minsan, hinihiling ko na sana ay wala na lang akong naalala. Because after remembered everything, napuno na ng kalungkutan ng buhay ko. The memories of my past imprisoned me in a cage where no one can escape. Linamon ako noon ng kadiliman at kalungkutan. Pero noong tumagal ay natuto rin akong tanggapin ang reality ko. I was ready to forget my past life and start a brighter future. But then I met someone who looks exactly like the man I love. Romeo din ang pangalan ng lalaking nakilala ko. At first, iniisip ko na baka kamukha niya lang yon. But my heart beats for him as the way my heart beats for the Romeo I love. And that time, I realized that he is really the same Romeo I met then. The both of us were reincarnated in this world to live a new life. I was very happy, of course. I even cried in front of him when I first saw him in this life. Nabirdohan pa nga siya sa akin noon eh. Doon ko nalaman na ako lang pala nakakaalala ng past life namin. But now, I am ready to have a better and new faith with him. Kakalimutan ko na ang nangyari sa nakaraan. We will definitely have our happy ending this time.
Ayun, ang ganda, no? No, ano ba, ang tawag dito? Nakakasabik. Gusto ko basahin yung susunod eh. Meron dito yung mapanuksong yung best friend, no? Sabi niya, "Bu, tititigan mo lang." Mapanuksong tanong ni Claire sa gilid ko. "Claire is my female best friend and Bu is our call sign." So, wow, what's gonna happen? And that's only page 11 of 434 pages. So, you guys, if you want to get a copy, it's only 530 pesos. 530 pesos. No, it's worth it. So, ayan. Okay, Zmain. Um, sabi mo nga, you want to focus on your studies, you want to, for now, and would you say na may iba ka pa bang unfinished novels? I'm curious to find out.
Meron po ako mga unfinished novels na hindi ko pa din po pinapublish sa Wattpad. Pero plano ko po yun i-publish din kapag po ready na ulit ako, kapag hindi na po masyado madami yung schoolworks.
Mhm. Yun. Was this written during the pandemic?
Yes po. Pero hindi ko pa po kasi natutuloy ngayon.
Mhm. Ayan. So, yun. Usually nga kasi during the pandemic, medyo marami tayong time. But ngayon, now that we're slowly getting back to normal, bigla tayong nagiging busy at, we have to really, focus on other things, like studies and work. So, yeah, we get that and we can totally relate. So, Zmain, thank you so much. Do you have any message to our viewers right now? Saan ka ba namin mahanap?
Meron po akong Wattpad account. Si Main din po ang username ko. Pwede po nila ako i-follow doon para po sa mga stories na ipapublish ko din soon.
Ayan. So, yun. So, just look for Zmain. No, I Save Romeo, and also all of her other stories. Yeah, you guys check them out. So yeah, so thank you, Zmain, and I believe this is our last launch for this week. You guys, we're going to Frankfurt. We're flying to Frankfurt Monday midnight. So thank you, Zmain. Thank you so much.
Thank you po.
And looking forward to your next works, your next books. So sa ngayon, focus muna tayo sa studies. Okay, thank you again to everyone who watched the whole back to back. Once again, our theme for today is romance and nostalgia. So as you can see, kanina Dreaming of the Sea, it's collection of short stories, and this time it's more on happily ever after. Tonas mean this is a happily ever after book. So I'm sure these two books combined would make your weekend complete kung naghahanap kayo ng something that would give you some comfort, especially medyo maulan ngayon. I mean, dito ako sa Cebu, maulan. So yun, thank you so much, and
Thank
to all
you
our viewers,
po.
thank you, and see you next time, everyone.
Ay po, thank you po.